market was valued at US 470 billion in 2023, and it's projected to grow to almost 9.4 USD trillion by 2033. So this presents an extraordinary expansion of 35% annual growth rate for any market. Closer to home, Indonesia's carbon market, launched through IDX Carbon in 2023, has already facilitated transactions worth more than 76 billion IDR, equivalent to over 1.5 million tons of CO2 equivalent credits. So, and this is already so successful at such an early stage, but it also signals the seriousness with which Indonesia is building the infrastructure to support a credible and scalable carbon trading system as it projects to its net zero carbon targets. For Australian businesses, this creates, in my opinion, three clear opportunities, which are market access, investment flows, and bilateral collaboration between Australia and Indonesia. And today's event also builds directly on the green economy function, which was held earlier in the year in March by the Indonesian government, which reinforced carbon trading as a pillar of Indonesia's growth strategy. So what we are exploring today is not just an environmental issue, but it's about how Australia and Indonesia position themselves in the future of global capital flows. And this is where AIBC can play a crucial role in connecting our members to these new markets, facilitating partnerships, and also ensuring businesses are at the table as this sector develops further. So let me just quickly outline what will happen today. First, we'll hear some opening remarks from Mr. Saribua Siahan, and they'll be followed by remarks from our new Consul General in Sydney, Bapak Pendekar Muda Leonard Sonda. And then we'll move on to our keynote speaker from IDX, which is Edwin Hartanto, and there'll be an opportunity for our members and guests to do a Q&A session. So please, if you have any questions, to put them into the chat, and then we will get to those as at the end of the session. So with that, let us begin by welcoming our first speaker, Bapak Saribua Siahan, the Director of Investment Promotion for Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific. He is part of the Ministry of Investment and Downstream Industry of Indonesia's Investment Coordinating Board, or BKPM. Pak Saribua currently serves as the Director of Investment Promotion for Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. And in this role, he is responsible for promoting investment opportunities and facilitating cross-border cooperation to support Indonesia's economic growth. Now, Pak Saribua has a very full schedule, and after his remarks, he must move on to his next engagement. So, Pa, over to you, and you are welcome to leave the webinar once you are done. Thank you so much for coming today.
Okay. Thank you, Lydia. Mr. Pendekar Muda Leonard Sondat, Consul General of Republic Indonesia in Sydney, Mr. Edwin Hartanto, Head of Carbon Trading Unit at the Indonesia Stock Exchange, all distinguished guys, participants from the Australia-Indonesia Business Council, Excellencies, distinguished guys, good afternoon to all of you. First of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Saribua Siahan, so make it easy for you to call me Mr. Juice. So Saribua is a sense of fruits, so nobody allergy with juice. So hopefully, when you hear something or some information from Mr. Jul, you will look fresh and at least you look younger. Yeah. I serve as the Director Promotion for Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand, and the Pacific region, the Ministry of Investment and Downstream Industry of Republic Indonesia, also as a BKPM. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Ministry of Investment and Downstream Industry, BKPM, let me extend my sincere gratitude for the kind invitation to join today the AIBC event and the webinar on carbon capital. building the Indonesia-Australia Carbon Market. It is truly an honor for me to welcome all of you here. This forum provides an excellent opportunity for us to exchange ideas, strengthen collaboration, and explore how both our nation can work together to build a strong and credible carbon market that support sustainable growth. Ladies and gentlemen, under the leadership of President Prabowo, Indonesia has sent out a clear national direction through Astacita, eight key priorities that guide our development. One of our most ambitious goals is to achieve 8% economic growth in the coming years. To reach this target, investment must not only increase, but also transform, becoming greener, more sustainable, and future-focused. In this journey, carbon trading plays a very important role. For Indonesia, it's not only a tool to reduce emissions, but also a way to attract direct investment, create jobs, and build trust with global partners who prioritize SEG principles. Indonesia is committed to transforming into a more productive and greener economy, with ambitious target to achieve 42% renewable energy and the energy mix by 2030 and 100 renewable energy by 2060. The Indonesia Stock Exchange has a critical role by developing a transparent and credible carbon trading platform. IDX can position Indonesia as a trusted hub for the green finance in the region, while also giving investors greater confidence in our sustainability effort. With its vast tropical forests and natural resources, Indonesia can take advantage of this opportunity to generate high-value carbon credits, while Australia gains a strategic partner and achieving regional emission reduction target. This is where our partnership with Australia becomes even more important. The Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or EACPA, has already provided a strong foundation for closer ties in trade, investment, and skills. We now can start extending our cooperation into new and future-oriented area, especially the carbon market. Together, Indonesia and Australia can unlock greater capital flows, strengthen cross-border collaboration, and help shape the future of carbon trading in our region. Ladies and gentlemen, currently the Ministry of Investment and Downstreaming Industry of BKPM focus on the value-added industry and has developed a roadmap for the downstreaming of strategic investment until 2040 with 28 commodities from 8 sectors. In order to increase investment competitiveness, many improvements have been made by the Indonesian government, such as the improvement of the quality of business licensing service and mapping investment opportunities that are ready to be offered. The Ministry of Investment and Downstreaming Industry (BKPM) will be committed to providing end-to-end facilitation and encouraging quality investment, which is in line with the government effort to achieve a strong and credible carbon market that support sustainable growth. So do not hesitate, let's invest in Indonesia. I am ready to be personal in charge by Australian company. So suppose your colleagues, your member, your friend, they want to know about Indonesia investment opportunity and how to invest to Indonesia, how to do business in Indonesia, let us know. We are more than happy to facilitate, and we communicate. If you in Australia, you have rep office in Sydney, Ibu Epi as our rep office in there, so we can communicate with them before coming to Indonesia. And you come to Jakarta, or you want to visit the location where we go set up company, let us know. I will be personal charge. I will guide you. What should you do to make your business growing faster, and what should you do to looking for, let's say, local partner or local content, or how to collaborate local people, how to communicate with and adapt it to local culture, everything. As long as you are serious to invest in Indonesia, let us know. I will do my best. So ladies and gentlemen, please come to Indonesia. We guide you, and we believe that if you choose Indonesia become an investment destination, your business will be growing and profitable. Thank you, and I wish you a productive and insightful discussion in this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Saribua. Wow. Thank you for putting that call to action out to Australian businesses. And you really, truly are a one-stop shop, yeah? Local partner, everything, culture. Well done, Pak. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for setting the scene as well with the landscape of carbon trading in Indonesia. Next, we have our very new Consul General to Australia, Pak Pendekar Muda Leonard Sondak. Welcome, Pak. I mean, you and I have seen each other many times over the last few weeks, but officially welcome to AIBC and to an AIBC event. We are so happy to have you guide us here in New South Wales, and really welcome you with open arms. But before you say your welcome remarks, let me just tell our audience a little bit about your background. So Pak Pendekar is our newly appointed Consul General. He is a seasoned diplomat with over 25 years of experience in Indonesia's foreign service. Before assuming his role here in Sydney, Pak Pendekar served as the head of the Bureau for Law and Administration at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Jakarta. In this capacity, he was responsible for institutional legal policy and administrative reform within the ministry. He previously also served as special staff to the Speaker of the People's Consultative Assembly, MPR, where he contributed to the advancement of Indonesia's parliamentary diplomacy. He has a very long list of accolades, but without further ado, please welcome our Consul General, Pak Pendekar.
Thank you, Bu Lydia. Yes, we have met quite sometimes, but not on in Zoom, yeah. Only this is our first time to meet in the Zoom. So thank you. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you joining us today. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which this webinar is being hosted, and pay my respect to their elders, past and present. It is my great honor to welcome you to this important webinar on carbon capital building the Indonesia-Australia Carbon Market. I would also like to express my appreciation to the Australia-Indonesia Business Council, AIBC, New South Wales, especially Ibu Lydia Santoso, for organizing this beautiful event and to thank our esteemed speakers, Mr. Saribua Siaan, Director of Investment Promotion, Indonesian Ministry of Investment and Downstream Industry, Mr. Edwin Hartanto, Head of Carbon Trading Unit in Indonesia Stock Exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, this event is part of our continuing efforts to advance the green economy following our Indonesia Updates Green Investment Business Forum in May 2025, where the Indonesia Stock Exchange also played a key role. That earlier forum laid important groundwork, and I am pleased we are building upon that momentum with today's webinar. Both Indonesia and Australia have placed sustainability and the energy transition at the heart of their economic strategies. As close neighbors and strategic partners, we are not only geographic ties, but also the responsibility to lead in the regional of the global response to the climate change. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, fully deploying carbon markets could generate 40 till 60% cost savings in climate actions by the year 2030, a powerful lever for accelerating sustainable development across many countries. This is reflected in Indonesia's own progress. Since the launch of the IDX Carbon in September 2023, the platform has facilitated over 1.6 million tons of CO2 equivalent trades, with approximately 90% of buyers from the domestic market. This emphasizes our growing internal momentum and confidence in the system. Carbon markets not only help reduce emissions, but also mobilize critical climate finance aligned with global development goals and open pathways for inclusive and sustainable growth, especially in emerging economic like ours. Today's webinar is more than a technical forum. It's all about building bridges of cooperation between regulators, businesses, and investors, so our two countries can seize the green economy opportunities. I hope our discussions open new paths for joint ventures, innovative financing, and policy harmonization that benefit both Indonesia and Australia. Please allow me to close by emphasizing that Indonesia views climate action not as a challenge, but as an opportunity to transform our economy and build a sustainable future. We welcome collaboration with Australia to help make that vision a reality. With that, I wish all participants a fruitful, not fruit juice, fruitful, yeah, Pak, and forward-looking discussions. I look forward to the outcomes of today's exchange. Thank you. Terima kasih. May God bless.
Thank you, Pak Pendekar. Fantastic. That's really great to set the scene. And as you rightly said, Pak, this is a build-up from the earlier mission from the Indonesian government when you came to Australia and did a little roadshow on the green economy. The panel where IDX Carbon was on was one of the very popular panels, and that's why it sort of brought on this request to host IDX Carbon at AIBC. It was very interesting to me. I didn't even know about it. I didn't know this existed on Indonesia's stock exchange. So it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to share this with our members. So without further ado, we are going to move on to the keynote speaker, who is Bapak Edwin Hartanto, who will walk us through the latest developments in Indonesia's carbon trading, and particularly via IDX Carbon. Edwin has been working in the Indonesia Stock Exchange since 2014 and currently acts as the head of carbon trading development. He graduated from the Faculty of Economics and Business from the University of Indonesia and obtained a Master's of Arts in Economics of Development from Erasmus University in Rotterdam. So welcome, Edwin. The floor is yours, and we're going to hand the controls of the Zoom over to you. You look like you're in a spaceship environment there. So it's your turn to take the controls and fly.
Yeah, it is a good virtual background. So yeah, thanks, Julie. Yeah, thanks so much. Right. Okay, thanks so much. So thank you for having me here. Hi, Pak Pendekar and Pak Saribua. Nice to see you. And of course, welcome everyone to this webinar. So if I may, please someone give me the access to share the screen. And while we are waiting for me to share the screen, yeah, I think I can give you a little bit of story about the IDX Carbon. So if you see, IDX Carbon is one of the business that Indonesia Stock Exchange or IDX has right now. So IDX now own multiple access or multiple rights to different asset class, starting from the equity, starting from the share trading, as well as a derivative trading, and of course for the fixed income as well. And the last is for the carbon trade license. So we are now becoming a multiple license asset exchanges. Okay.
Edwin, you should be able to share your screen. You've been made host, so apparently.
I think I haven't. I think I haven't.
Oh, hang on. Let me see if I can get someone onto that one.
Now I can share the screen.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, I have a
technology works. Oh, this is this is my excellent. Well, I'm glad it's working.
Yeah. Sometimes hiccup happen. So everyone, so the title of my presentation is Accelerating Net Zero and Unlocking Indonesia Carbon Market Potential through IDS Carbon or Indonesia Carbon Exchange. So we're going to start from the background. Of course, everyone here already familiar with the issue of the global warming or even global boiling, in which our Earth has become getting warmer since this last few decades. So we can see that the trajectory over here is pretty grim. So this is a very bad picture. If we continue on this path, our increase in the temperature could reach even 3 degrees Celsius from pre-industrial revolution time. And this is a very bad condition, because then a lot of risks, even if it's only for 3 degrees Celsius, it will impact the economy a lot. It will impact the livelihood a lot. So that's why maybe some of you have heard about Kyoto Protocol back in the 90s. That's where all this global warming is getting addressed. And this Kyoto Protocol evolved into what we call the Paris Agreement back in 2015, in which more than 190 countries all over the world agreed that we have to hold the increase in the temperature to maximum 2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. And even we try to hold it at least to at max 1.5 Celsius above pre-industrial level. But bad news, last year, the average temperature of Earth, we have at one point, we have reached 1.5 Celsius degrees. So yeah, the homework is pretty much is on us. So one of the mechanism is carbon pricing. So this mechanism to combat the global warming is carbon pricing. What is carbon pricing? Carbon pricing is simply put, we try to put a price on carbon emission. So there's some carbon emission that you might be familiar with, from carbon dioxide to methane and hydrochloroform and any other form of carbon emission, which is bad, and it is produced massively by the industry. Now we try to put a price on that. So simply put, we try to put disincentive on those who pollute, and we try to give incentive to those who can minimize or even remove the carbon emission from the atmosphere. And this carbon pricing comes from two types of mechanism. First one, the easiest one, is penalty mechanism in the form of carbon taxes, and the other one is trading mechanism. And trading mechanism can be divided into two kinds of trades. First one is emission trading system, or ETS, and the other one is carbon offset credit or offsetting mechanism. So if we start to take a deep dive into this regulation, it started with the ratification of the Paris Agreement by Indonesia's government in 2016. And then in September 2022, we set our enhanced NDC, or nationally determined contribution, which set the target for Indonesia, how much emission reduction that we try to reduce by 2030 is about 31.89% to 43.20%. And of course, we want to reach the net zero in 2060 or hopefully sooner. So this target is cascade into, at least for now, to five important sectors. It is energy sectors, obviously one of the biggest emitter, and waste sectors, IBPU, or manufacturers, and agriculture, as well as land use. But if you're wondering why land use is there, it's because Indonesia owns a lot of land and a lot of deforestation happened in this past few decades, and we try to reduce that as well. And then we have what we call presidential regulation in 2021, which regulate about the carbon economic value or carbon pricing, in which the mechanism consists of carbon trading or result-based payment, as well as carbon tax and other mechanism. And then we have the regulation of Ministry of Environment and Forestry in 2022. And in this regulation, it is mentioned that the carbon trade can be done domestically and internationally. And the form of market mechanism coming to two kind of trades: allowance trading or ETS, and credit trading or offset credit trading. And carbon trading could be done only via two channels. First one is carbon exchange, which is Indonesia Carbon Exchange, and second one is through direct trading or B2B business. Now, this is the core, the two kind of carbon trading that I have mentioned, and I think some of you are already familiar with, is that the carbon allowance or ETS and carbon offset credit or carbon credit. So we're going to start with the emission trading system or the carbon allowance. This is what in Indonesia we call the PTBA-PU, or the emission technical approval, or carbon allowance or carbon quota. Simply put, this is a cap or a limitation to certain industry, certain companies. So they cannot emit as much as they like. So there's now a limitation on their carbon emission production each year. This is what we call carbon allowance or carbon quota. And now at the end of the compliance period, they have to report their actual emission to the government, and then they can, if they have a surplus of quota or allowance, they can sell it to those who need it, to those who are going on the deficit. And if the deficit cannot be overcome with the trades, then by the end of the compliance period, they need to pay the carbon tax. But up until now, at least in Indonesia, the carbon tax implementation got postponed since 2022. And now the other part is the carbon offset credit. So the carbon offset credit is a certified emission reduction. So It started with the green project, and this green project then either can avoid or can remove carbon emission from the atmosphere, and then it will be calculated, and then the certification will be issued, and then the certification or offset credit can be traded, can be sold to the companies who want to try to offset their emission. So over here, for companies who, no matter how much companies try to reduce their emission, there almost always be a residual emission left. So this is what the companies try to offset eventually from this carbon offset crediting. And now, if we're talking about the carbon offset credit, they're coming from two forms. So we're talking specifically on this right side of the carbon credit, carbon trading, which carbon offset credit. So carbon offset credit coming from two types of credit: a reduction and a removal. So this is some kind of sort what we call, like, if someone is need, to have a healthier life, usually our doctor's gonna say, hey, you need to do at least two things. First one, exercising, and second one is to have a good diet. So this is usually for someone who maybe sometimes overweight or high level of cholesterol. So this is usually the solution. So we need to do this carbon diet, right? Carbon removal, try to remove carbon emission which already been produced, which already been on the atmosphere since 100 or even 1,000 years ago. So this is like exercising. We try to burn whatever already get into our body. So we try to remove whatever already produced on the atmosphere. And we can do that through nature-based solution or technology-based solution. From the nature-based solution is easy. We have our mangrove, we have our rainforest, we have our peat restoration. And from the technology-based solution, we have carbon capture and storage as example. And of course, exercising is not enough, ladies and gentlemen. We also need to have our diet. We try to reduce whatever we usually have. So this is where the carbon reduction usually coming in the terms of technology based. For example, renewable power plant who replacing the coal power plant. And this is something that Indonesia really need. Up until this year, Indonesia only reached about 13-14% of renewable energy in the energy mix, and we do really need to increase that. But the investment on the renewable power plant is very expensive compared with the coal power plant, which abundantly rich, owned by Indonesia. So this carbon offset credit will give another additional revenue to give incentive for the renewable power plant producer. And the high quality carbon credit, you usually need to consider three factors among others. The additionality means it will give additional value compared with the business as usual. And of course, there's permanence factors in which the length of time of the carbon will be stored. And of course, how the project can prevent leakage from the carbon emission that's been captured. So in Indonesia, at least the law number 4 of 2023 on financial sector development and reinforcement categorized the carbon unit. And carbon unit, we're talking about the carbon emission allowance, carbon allowance, as well as carbon credit. So carbon unit defined as securities, and because of its securities, it's supervised by Indonesia Financial Services Authority, or OJK. So why the reason we have, or Indonesia need to develop a carbon market, is because Indonesia possesses a lot of carbon potential. And one of the biggest potentials resides on the carbon capture and or utilization storage, CCS or CCUS. And I believe this is what Australia land also has got a lot of potential for, is that Indonesia land can store a lot of carbon emission really well, but the investment is pretty expensive. So that's why this kind of project is still in incubation right now. In the next 5 years, we're gonna see some pilot project on the carbon capture and storage. Some investment already been made by some of the biggest company. Again, this is expensive technology, so that's why only big company can invest in this kind of technology. But if Indonesia can maximize the potential of the carbon capture and storage, we can store about 12 gigatons of carbon emission, which I might say this is a pretty big number. Even all of ASEAN's or Southeast Asia countries' emission can get into this carbon capture and storage if we can maximize it. But of course, it is still a long way to go. And of course, one of the prime potential of Indonesia is in our nature-based solution. It's coming in form of rainforest, and Indonesia got like about third largest rainforest in the world. We also have number one potential of mangrove in the world, and we also have a lot of potential from the peatland. So a lot of potential over here from the nature-based solution and from energy sector, from renewable energy as well as from electric vehicle. So this is why a lot of countries, either for the ETS or carbon allowance and for carbon offset credit market, already been developed by each of these countries. Australia already have expensive CBL from 2009. Singapore got two exchanges, CIX and ACX. Malaysia got one. Indonesia also got one. So in Southeast Asia, there's only three countries now that has carbon exchange. Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Vietnam and Philippines is in the middle of developing the carbon exchange, but the other rest of the world is trying to catching up also, or even had one since long ago. The market is still growing, and the potential is there. And now we're talking about the Indonesia carbon exchange trading mechanism. So that's why on the 26th September 2023, the former president, Mr. Joko Widodo himself, launched the official Indonesia Carbon Exchange of IDX Carbon. So we try to give a value to this market by bringing in the transparency and bringing in a more standardized product and as well as liquidity to the market. And now we have several comparison of carbon credit prices. Is from Indonesia's project. This is what we call the SRN project, as well as the other project from Vera Standard, and we see that the prices is actually not there's not a huge disparity between the project, and we believe that this is just the start of this market. So this is how it goes. So there's a primary market on which the carbon unit is created or born, and it is on the registry. Indonesia got our own national registry called a National Register System of or SRN, and of course there's other registry out there where gold standard, you name it. This is where the carbon unit is created, and then once it got created, they can get into the secondary market, which is IDS Carbon under the supervisory of Indonesia Financial Services Authority. And these are the four available trading mechanism provided by IDS Carbon. So IDS Carbon try to combine the best practices of the ETS market as well as the credit market, and it comes into these four type of mechanism which give a high flexibility to the buyer and to the seller. So that's why a lot of features on this four mechanism you might choose on how you want to trade your carbon unit. And if you have a question on this, maybe you can ask on the chat box or raise it directly, and we'll be happy to answer your question regarding this trading mechanism. It is auction, regular or spot trading, negotiated as well as marketplace. So this is the regulation for In Indonesia Carbon Exchange, we open Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. without break, and the trading fee is one of the lowest in the world, 0.11 to 0.22% from the transaction value. So we built our system on the top of a private blockchain. So that's why it's allow us to do instantaneous settlement or T+0 settlement, and we do the clearing by a gross trade clearing. And this is the process on how carbon credit can be created. So long story short, from a good project, then you need to produce a document, what we call a PDD, project design document, and then it will get validated and verified by a validation and verification body of VVB before it will be get into the registry, and then the registry is the one who will issue the credit, and then the credit can be traded freely on the exchange. Another milestone, back earlier this year in January 2025, Indonesia launched the first authorized carbon credit to the international market. So this authorized carbon credit means Indonesia relinquishes the NDC claim from the carbon credit, and it can be traded freely domestically and internationally. Another milestone is for the MRA Mutual Recognition Agreement between Indonesia's government and Gold Standard Registry. So it's allow now both registry to acknowledge each other. So this is the available, or I might say a visible products that is currently can be traded on IDX carbon, and there's allowance, or what we call a carbon quota or ATS, and there's also the carbon credit one, divided into three kind of credit. The non-authorized one is carbon credit can be traded domestically, and the authorized one can be traded domestically and internationally. And of course, the last one is carbon credit under mutual recognition agreement with other registry. But for the last one, there's no credit has been issued yet, so we still wait until SRN or Indonesia government and Gold Standard finally issue the first MRA credits. Now, if you are a foreign entities outside of Indonesia and want to get involved in this trade, so there are three alternatives for foreign entities. First one, you may register yourself as IDS Carbon user and doing transaction and retirement by yourself. And if a foreign entity own a subsidiary or a sister company or whatever that is, then the legal entity Indonesia can register themselves as IDS Carbon user. Then this entity can do transaction and retirement on behalf of yourself. And the last one, if you want, you can buy and retire via intermediary or broker who is already registered as IDS Carbon user. And a little bit of IDS Carbon, we just received an award from Green Cross United Kingdom as one of the winner of the Carbon Positive Award as the best official carbon exchange in emerging economy. So this award presented to 100 out of 1,400 nominated organization. Indonesia Carbon Exchange is the only Indonesian organization who received this award. And the key factors on why IDS Carbon win the award is that we operate under the oversight or supervisory of OJK, or the Indonesia Financial Services Authority, and we also integrated with the Indonesia National Registry System. So we try to maintain market integrity, and of course we offer a wide array of trading mechanism as you have seen before. So what is the benefit for the company? So IDX as the stock exchange, of course, we have obligation to our listed company. Right now, we have more than 950 listed companies, and we want them to be investable. And especially a lot of ESG investors out there take a look into how a company now manage. And we got a lot of initiative, IDS Carbon included, and we got other product as well, green bond, ESG indexes, ESG rating, and we have also a lot of facility for listed companies so they can improve their sustainability practices. Because at the end of the day, the sustainable practices, sustainability practice can give you a long-term advantage over your competitor, and we want to make our companies investable. And this is example of the interconnection between IDS Carbon and SRN or National Register System. All the retirement, all the listed credit is connected between both systems. And if you're doing the retirement on your carbon credit, you can have your name directly on the National Register System. And this is the example. Out of 1.6 million credit have been traded, almost 1 million already been retired. And a lot of individuals, a lot of institutions, a lot of events already doing offsetting using the Indonesia's carbon credit. So for example, if you want to buy the carbon credit from IDS Carbon, what can you do after that? First of all, you can see the project in your wallet, and then you can resell it again. If you haven't retired the carbon credit, you can resell it on the regular and negotiation market. And of course, you can retire your carbon unit and have your name or your affiliation or affiliated companies or even person to be the beneficiary of carbon credit of your carbon credit. So you can retire under your name or you can retire on behalf of your client or your other stakeholders' name. And last of my presentation, so that we can a little bit more time to discuss, is that there's some requirement to register as IDS Carbon, but it is a very easy requirement. And this is the step. So if you want to register your company, your legal entity out there, please go visit this link and then we will guide you till the end till you get your account. And why joining now? Because now the registration fee is still free, and maybe we can make it free to you, to Australia's company, till even beyond 24 of September 2025. And right now, there's no listing fee whatsoever for a project owner who want to list their carbon credit project. There's no other fee, there's no membership fee, no annual fee, no dormant fee for users. So once you got registered, there's no fee whatsoever that you need to pay to become IDS Carbon user. And once you become a user, then you have access to all of our event programs and webinar, and you will be more updated with the carbon trading information because you can join our event. And if today's webinar is still not enough for you, we got a lot of material so you can learn from. So there's our website www.idscarbon.co.id. You can visit some of our past events, seminars, webinars, and you can see our recording event as well as material. And of course, you can visit also IDX YouTube channel in which we have our webinar series. So it marks the end of my presentation. Thanks so much. So if you have anything you want to ask, please do. Please ask on the chat box of asking directly. And even after this, if you want to discuss anything, you can also reach us on this email support.idscarbon@idx.co.id. So thanks so much. So over to you, Bu Lydia, if you want to
Thank
guide.
you, Edwin. Wow, I learned a lot from your very comprehensive presentation and was very clear in explaining what it is, how it works, how things are priced, and then also very good instructions on how to register. And you said foreign individuals. Are foreign individuals able to register, or does it have to be a company?
So as of now, there's only we only accepted a legal entity.
Legal
So it
entities.
could be
Okay.
like it should be like in a company forms or
Yeah.
foundation form.
Okay,
So
great.
if you see individuals can offsetting themselves via this
A broker
intermediary,
or yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So I am going to open this up to the floor. If any of you has a question that you would like to ask, please pop it in the chat and we can get Edwin to answer them. Or any comments. It doesn't even have to be a question. Any comments or anything. Or you can unmute yourself and jump in. Don't be shy.
Yeah, I guess it's
No?
already
Wow, Edwin, your
reached. Yeah.
presentation was so effective and so
Of course, of
informative
course,
that everybody has no questions.
of course, of course.
No one.
Yeah.
I just think this is great that only 3 countries out of Southeast Asia have got a carbon exchange, and
Yeah.
Indonesia
Yeah.
being one of them. I
Yeah.
think that is fantastic, and along with Malaysia and Singapore leading the way. And unfortunately, climate change is very real. We can no longer hide behind it anymore, and so it's good that this is on offer, and the carbon exchange is there. So
Yeah.
nobody has anything. No. Well, I just wanted to thank you, Edwin, for presenting to us today, to Pak Parlin, the entire team at IDX. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. We are a business council. We are all volunteers. We are a membership-based organization, so membership does really make a difference for us. So I've got a QR code up there. If any of you who have joined us today who are not members who would like to be, here is your time to scan that QR code. And if you particularly like the event that we put on today, then we've got more. Our next event actually is on the 18th of September, where we get to meet in person our new Consul General at the consulate in Maroubra. So that's going to be an exciting event, and be great for our members to get to know Pak Pendekar, who will be here for the next 3 years. So that is on the 18th of September. You can register through our website at aibc.com.au. And also from my team, I'd like to thank Clifford, who has been working behind the scenes and doing all the technical stuff. He is the mouse behind the screen there, as you can see the cursor. So thank you, Clifford, for all your help in putting this together, and also to Mbak Epi at IIPC and Dita at the consulate. We are so lucky to have wonderful relationships with the various areas of Indonesian government, and we do really cherish those collaborations and friendships, and look forward to our next event. So thank you, Pak Edwin. I will definitely be coming to your control center there next time I'm in Jakarta.
Yeah. I'll be waiting.
Yeah, and I look forward to also visiting IIPC, and don't forget that call of action from Pak Saribua, from Mr. Juice, to don't be shy in doing business or coming to IIPC for any information about entering the market in Indonesia. So thank you so much, everybody. We will wrap this up now, and I will see you all hopefully at our next event on the 18th. So take care. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Ibu
Thanks so
Lilian.
much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Bye bye.
Bye now. Bye-bye.